You know, Galton and Simpson, who wrote Steptoe Son.
Yeah.
And they had this. They were saying like when they were just sort of fishing around for ideas because they had this like a half-hour slot, I think, on BBC Two or something, like Play for Today sort of thing.
Yeah.
And they were just throwing ideas around. And one of them was just like, yeah, 2 rag and bone men.
Yeah.
And it was, you know, it was just as random as that. And it became, you know, a fucking hit.
I suppose, you know, the sort of set types of characters are always the same in a way. It's just like...
Well, they said they didn't know. They didn't realise. They only kind of meant... They said, oh, 2 rag and bone men.
Yeah.
But then it only really started to take shape. And they said, oh, yeah, it's like father and son. And that's where all the kind of...
Yeah.
You know, the sort of depth behind it came from.
Did you see that? Did I send you that documentary of this village for special people?
Yes.
Did you watch it?
I've seen it before. Yeah, that's where it came out.
Okay. But there's a bit in that where there's these 2 special needs guys, and they're like acting like they're doing some paperwork. I mean, but really they're just picking up these big bits of paper and flapping them about.
Yeah.
But they're clearly devising some kind of sitcom between the 2 of them.
Right.
They're going like, the Queen, yeah, crocodile, yeah. And it's like, it's just fucking hilarious to watch them, you know. So, as you can tell, listener, Beamish is here this time. Beamish is back.
Beamish is back.
Did you listen to the last one I put up? Southwark and Bankside?
Yes, I did, yes. Well, I listened to about more than half of it, yeah.
Alright. Good. What made you turn it off? Got a bit bored.
I was doing 2 things at once.
Yeah.
And I kind of like one thing took over.
Yeah, fair enough. Did it keep you, you know, it was mildly diverting?
Yeah.
So today we're going to talk about the walk that we did for Mr. X's, or should we call him, let's call him Mr. T, for his birthday, isn't it? It's his birthday walk. Not on the day of his birthday, because strangely, for such a hardcore homo, his actual birthday lands on International Women's Day.
Yeah, and you were ribbing him about that.
Oh, I was ribbing him about that. I was spare ribbing him about that. I've always found that very amusing every year when this hardcore, never touched a bitch homo has to share his birthday with fucking all these fucking bitches. You know.
I don't think my birthday's not on any particular day, holiday day.
Have you even bothered to look it up?
Yeah, I've looked up. I know that Duke Ellington was born on the same day as me. It's about as much as there is.
That's a bit piss poor. Do you then put on some Duke Ellington on your birthday?
Well, I bought a Duke Ellington record once on the strength of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How was it?
Not bad. Yeah, it's good. It's pretty cool actually. It's Duke Ellington. You know that Stevie Wonder song, Sir Duke.
Yeah.
It's about Duke Ellington.
Okay. Was he one of these junkie jazz men?
No, but I think he was like a great influence on jazz in general.
Yeah. Yeah, but a lot of them are junkies, isn't it?
Oh yeah, but I think that was like John Coltrane and all those guys.
Miles Davis, Chet Baker.
Apparently they were really into acid. John Coltrane was. said it really helped him, all that wild, crazy stuff.
Yeah.
Like you, it's on acid.
Heroin and acid. Nana Cherry's dad.
Don Cherry.
Jazz drummer junkie.
Yeah.
So it began to walk. Began once again at Piccadilly Circus, and you gave me a laugh because I said, "Oh, we're meeting at Piccadilly."
Yeah.
And then you messaged me and goes, "What's the nearest station?"
No, because Piccadilly's a long street. Like you've got like a Green Park. I mean, there's several stations like down there.
Yeah, but I thought my directions were quite clear.
Well, no, you just said Piccadilly, and you said the street Piccadilly. So I thought, oh, he obviously doesn't mean Piccadilly Circus, or else he'd say Piccadilly Circus. You said, oh, on Piccadilly. So I thought, oh.
Was it? Oh well. Yeah, maybe it's my fault. Although everybody else understood. So. Also there was, so it was Mr. T, you, Beamish of course, and then we had that gay couple. You know what I mean? So that's how it started. Was there a little bit of rain, a little bit of light rain? I can tell by the book
raining.
that it was.
Yeah, no, it was raining. Yeah, because I was hoping that it wouldn't rain, and it was raining.
Do you know what? I didn't check until the very day, and I was like, oh, here we are.
But it wasn't too bad. It wasn't like torrential.
It was that bad. That's how much of the book is. It's like that much. But it's the same old book. So we met there, and then we walked down the road known as Piccadilly. And on the left, there was a church called St James's Piccadilly. Before I read anything, do you remember anything about it?
Well,
Off
that
the cuff?
church is particularly memorable to me because when I first moved to London, I used to go into which was, it's not there anymore, Tower Records.
Yes.
And I used to go on like these shoplifting sprees.
Oh.
And I used to just fill my pockets with as many CDs as I could fit. I would like carefully peel off the security tags and then just walk out, and I'd run to that church. I'd go and sit in that church and like look at all my hall.
Ill-gotten gains.
Yeah, look at all my hall. So that's why I remember that church from doing that.
You didn't say that on the day.
I
did
did,
you?
well, I did, but I didn't say it to you.
Oh, no. And how often would you do that? A month?
I do it like every weekend.
Every weekend?
Yeah.
Were you eventually caught?
I was never caught ever.
So what made you change your ways?
Well,
Tower Records dissolved. It was not there
I don't know.
anymore.
I had this phase of just. I mean, I didn't have much money, and.
Would you flog the CDs?
No, just for my own personal collection. I'd try and build up a large music collection of all different genres.
Yeah.
And I was surprised at how easy it was to do, so I just kept doing it.
Would you wear a long Mac or something?
I had this coat which had loads of pockets.
Like an army coat?
Yeah, and I could just. It was quite surprising how much I could get in that coat.
I had a phase of doing that at HMV on Oxford Street, probably around the same time, similar time.
Yeah.
Maybe a couple of years later, I don't know. But eventually got nabbed.
I never got caught.
Got nabbed. And then down in East Ham, because when I was homeless, I got put temporarily, after being a Gardens short stay hostel, which was mental, but I'll talk about that another time. I got housed by Stonewall down in East Ham. I was the first boy that ever accepted from Beamish Gardens, because Beamish Gardens had such a reputation. when I got accepted, staff at Beamish Gardens were like, nobody from here has ever been accepted by posh Stonewall before. Beamish Gardens, you have the police round every fucking night, you know.
Right.
It's like it was a mixed hostel as well, like boys and girls. Shenanigans that went on in there. Like, but I met people that I would never ordinarily meet, you know, like banji girls as they called them back then, ragga girls, you know, all this sort of stuff. Got on with them alright. They used to call me a batty man, but they didn't mean anything by it.
Yeah.
You know. But anyway, East Ham. I went to the was it co-op? I can't remember what it was, co-op or whatever. But I was hungry, and well, I nicked something. I got caught with it, and they took me to the back room. They said, "Then put what have you got in your pocket? Put it out." And I was like, "That's a fair cop." I put my hand in my pocket, pulled out Frey Bentos pie. In the pie in a tin. The fucking Frey Bentos pie. I was looking forward to that as well.
Yeah, I did get caught. I got caught once in Morrison's in Stratford, but luckily I had. This is a technique that I learned. Is if you put in if you're shoplifting, always put in some essentials like washing powder and like washing up liquid, and then you can just sort of say, oh, you know,
I just forgot.
No, you know, I'm desperate. I just need, if you've got a few essentials in there.
Oh, right.
Sort of they take a bit of sympathy.
Well, Frey Bentos pie, isn't it? Oh, that's a
Well,
bit
yeah,
essential.
I know. I don't know. Well, that was my defence.
Oh, you didn't have to go to the prison or anything?
No, I didn't either. They just put you in this room and they make you sweat it for a bit and then let it go.
When I got nicked on Christmas Day, well, not Christmas Day, Christmas Eve, for nicking a Gillette razor thing, flashy thing. I thought, man, I'm not cut out for this. And I actually did get taken to the station for that one.
Oh, right.
So a couple of hours sitting in a cell for that. Just
I
because I
just got banned. I got banned from Morrison's. I got banned from Waitrose and I got banned from Sainsbury's for life. But didn't mean anything.
banned from Morrison's is that's t-shirt worthy. You know, you can get a tattoo of that. Banned from Morrison's. Okay, so that's what's notable to the church about you, for you.
Well, that's what I just remember it from that time.
Well, what other people might be struck by is the fact that although Christopher Wren did a lot of churches, this is the only one in which he got the opportunity to go hell for leather and do something completely out of his own mind, because a lot of the other stuff was built on after the fire on the remains of other churches, so he sort of had to stick somewhat to previous plans, but in this one he could do his own thing. It's notable for it was commissioned by the Earl of St Albans on a fresh plot of land, and Wren regarded it as his best church design. It was consecrated in 1684 and is Wren's only surviving West End church. Despite damage suffered during the Blitz, it boasts one of Wren's most pleasing and elegant interiors.
Yeah, it's got a great big old organ in there.
Wren's big organ.
Yeah.
It also contains a rare example of an external pulpit. And I tried to point the finger at that, but I'm not sure if we actually saw it. But now, I met two old friends in there. You met one. Well, what happened was, got a phone call. Mr. Wheels had turned up, so I had to go and collect him all the way from Sweden. So he came along. So that made the party. The fellowship was now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of us now. And then there was another old friend in there. Can you remember who? I'll give you a clue. You ready for the clue?
Mm-hmm.
He doesn't monkey about. Regular listeners might get this.
I don't know.
Grinling Gibbons.
Oh yes, of course, yes.
Grinling Gibbons. Wren's favourite favourite craftsman. There is inside the galleried nave there is a beautifully carved white marble font. There you are, look.
It was Adam and Eve, wasn't it?
Yes.
It's got the snake. It's like when the snake is offering, like encouraging Eve to take the apple.
Yeah.
In the Garden of Eden.
I mean, it's a small item, but the little font, this little thing.
But it's nice to see that scene.
Why?
Well, it's the birth of shame, or what was it?
Yeah. It was the woman started it. It inspired Mr. Wheels suddenly started to want to debate fucking religion, which I did the Four Horsemen, and now I don't really give a fuck anymore. You know what I mean? Whether people believe in God or not.
Yeah, because I was convinced that because he's Swedish, right?
Yes.
But from the way he spoke, I instantly thought he was Irish for some reason. I don't know why. Sort of similar intonation. And I just assumed he was Irish. And because he started kind of going on about sort of Christianity and stuff, and I put those two things together and just assumed he's Irish.
I mean, back in ancient times, there's a crossover between the Vikings and the Irish. So, I mean, these Northern European tongues. So that might be why.
He's very sort of soft-spoken. Kind of.
He is these days.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty cool little item.
With this thing acting as the
font. It's a tree. It's like a.
It's acting as the tree. Yeah.
Was that tree? Did that have a name? Or was it just a tree?
I don't. I suppose maybe it does if you did biblical studies.
But it's the tree that the snake came down from.
Yeah, well, the snake's on there. You can see the snake.
Yeah, and the snake told Eve to take a bite of this.
Yeah, he said, what do you mean you can eat from every tree but not this one? What the fuck are you talking about?
So they could eat from every tree in the garden.
Yes.
Apart from this one.
That's what God said.
Yeah. And the snake said, oh, well, this is the forbidden fruit.
And God said, no, the snake said, fuck that, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
But, I can understand why the God might philosophically put a little, not a test so much as this rule, because if you've got, it's just to say, look, I've given you all of this, but you just must prove to me that I'm not.
You're not taking the piss.
That you're not taking the piss. Yeah, you're not taking me for granted, so to speak. You know what I mean? Don't take my kindness for weakness, so to speak. But she fucking did. And then she made...
Well, doesn't the snake get the blame?
Ooh.
Why does she get the blame? And the snake, it's obviously a phallic representation.
No, it's not. No, it's not. This is Freudian shit. Nothing obvious about it. She gets the blame because she's a fucking slag. That's why.
What, she ate an apple?
Yeah, the apple on the end of the fucking dick.
Snake.
Dick apple. The penile apple.
Oh, so that's what it represents. The snake with the apple in its mouth is that big knob. It's coming up to her and going, "Eat this."
Yeah, but then if that's what it is, then when because she makes Adam take a bite of the apple as well, so what she makes him do is suck his own dick. So she also creates homosexuality
Well,
at the
there
same
you go.
time.
Well, why
So-
aren't the gays going crazy about that?
They are. They are. They're always slagging off God and Christ and stuff like that. You fucking made us. So we could talk about this. We could wax philosophical about this for all day.
But anyway, it's an interesting topic for a font in the church just off Piccadilly Circus.
Yes.
So it's worth going to have a look at, if you're in the area.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it does have disabled access. And if it's raining, it's a nice. Or you've got to hide from the police, then it's a good place to go. Also, the artist and poet William Blake was baptised in the church in 1757 because he was born just up the road. And
So
that
was he
dismal-
baptised from this font?
Yeah, probably.
No.
Yeah,
Do the dates match for his lifetime?
yeah. Because Gibbons died in 1721,
And when was Blake born?
1757. So there you go. So he was definitely dipped in there. Today, St James is a lively place. Its churchyard the site of an enjoyable arts and craft market that takes place every Wednesday to Saturday. And an antiques market every Tuesday. Walk through the church to come out into Jermyn Street, home to many upmarket men's outfitters. Upmarket is, that's putting it lightly. Whose famous shirts are popular with the well-heeled members of the exclusive clubs of St James. These clubs will become a feature of this walk. The street is also home to a number of long-standing shops, such as Floris at number 89, which has been selling toiletries here since 1730. It was founded by Juan Famius Floris, an immigrant from Menorca. Now, which famous person used to dab on a bit of a Floris scent?
Pass.
Pass?
I can't remember.
Do you want a clue?
Yeah.
Fucking hell. Right. Rhymes with pond. It's not a very good one.
Right, with Pond.
Yeah.
Oh, James Bond. Fleming.
Not Fleming, it was actually James Bond himself.
Oh, James Bond, the character. Oh, shit, I found out. You know who James Bond was inspired, who was the inspiration for James Bond?
I think you said this on the walk or somebody did, but say it anyway.
Christopher Lee.
No.
Yes,
No.
yes.
No.
Yes.
No.
Christopher Lee was
No.
the inspiration for James Bond.
No.
Yes.
Why?
Christopher Lee was he was a fucking spy.
No, he wasn't. Christopher Lee's whole thing is all made up bollocks.
Well, that's not what I heard.
I can Google it.
Okay, Google it, but
Oh,
I've
well.
heard that Ian Fleming was inspired by the early life of Christopher Lee, and his he was a spy.
James Bond. Blah, 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 blah.
Let's put James Bond Christopher Lee into Google.
Creation and inspiration. Ian Fleming created the fictional character of James Bond as the central figure for his works. Bond, blah, blah, blah. MI6, Codeman 007. Fleming based his fictional creation on a number of individuals he came across during his time in Naval Intelligence Division and 30 Assault Unit during the Second World War, admitting that Bond was a compound of all the secret agents and commando types I met during the war. Among those types were his brother Peter, who'd been involved in behind-the-lines operations in Norway and Greece. Others, including Conrad O'Brien French, Patrick Dales's job, Billy Dunderdale. Nowhere does it... No, doesn't say it's
Right,
Christopher Lee.
Just don't go away from this Wikipedia page. Just type it into Google.
Type in what? James
Bond, Christopher Lee.
Right. All you're going to get is Scaramouche. Can you do the Fandango? You played Scaramouche.
Yes, I know.
Look, James Bond Wiki, the fandom. Fuck off. Blah blah blah. Christopher Lee was impoverished, step bankruptcy, volunteer. His commander, Christopher Lee's commander, Sir Ormond Winter, known as O, was the former head of intelligence in Dublin, and has been suggested as one of the inspirations for M. Lee was only in the Home Guard and the Royal Air Force. No, yeah. Played Scaramanga. That's it. Sorry, and these guys know.
Okay, well, that was something that I heard on like a podcast.
You can't trust what you hear on these fucking podcasts.
Well, exactly, absolutely. There you go.
Anyway, James Bond, the fictional character, wore florist number 89 aftershave. And real life customers included Beau Brummel, Florence Nightingale, and the Frankenstein author Mary Shelley, although I contend that probably Percy Shelley had a great big hand in finishing that fucking novel.
But I would like to know what this scent smells like. Florist. Is it got a florist? Has it got a specific name?
Florist number 89.
I want to smell that.
Oh, maybe it's not. Maybe we know. Maybe there's. What does florist number 89 smell like? I mean, why would Bond particularly choose that one? You know what I mean? There must be a reason.
It's the area, isn't it? Bond was like...
No, but why that particular scent?
Because that shop is next to all the clubs.
Yeah, but why did he choose 89 and not 88?
We should have had number 007.
It's a woody aromatic fragrance for men. It was launched in 1951. The top notes are lavender, bergamot. I don't even know what that is.
It's like a... I know what bergamot smells. It's like a Earl Grey tea. You know Earl Grey tea?
Yeah.
That's bergamot.
Imagine walking around smelling of Earl Grey tea.
Yeah.
Orange, neroli, petrigan, and nutmeg. Middle notes are rose, geranium, and ylang-ylang. The base notes are oak moss.
Musk.
This is really the real stuff. Oak moss, musk, sandalwood, vetiver, and Virginia cedar.
I imagine it smells like cigars. Lemony cigars.
I blind bought Florist's number 89 because it was Ian Fleming's favourite fragrance. And as an American man, don't say I'm pleased with uncool things all related to James Bond. I will continue to envy his car, his clothes, his way with women, his watches, and his toughness. His fragrance, if it is in fact number 89, unfortunately, I will leave that for him and render the following verdict, just not for me. First impression, so yeah, there you go.
Floral perfume for old ladies.
Yeah, to me it's a grandma's English garden. But maybe he wore it as a distraction. Then.
Oh, it was a fucking yes.
It was a feint.
It was like,
Yeah.
there's an old lady. There's been old lady's been here.
Well, no, it's like Sun Tzu said in The Art of War: appear weak when strong,
Yeah.
appear strong when weak.
Yeah, yeah,
It
yeah.
just smells like an old lady.
It's a double bluff.
It's a double O bluff. People go, oh, oh. Mm. You know what I mean? Like that. Simples. Simples, my son. So, okay, look, I'm going to ponce one more of these. It'll be the last one, but I did buy you these drinks, Beamish. Do you have a favourite scent, Beamish? Are you big on this sort of? I've never really smelt you rocking aftershave, to be honest.
Well, I do sometimes.
Wait, what, when you're trying to impress a lady?
No, well, I remember I kind of had a phase of like wearing it.
Right. Mm. Mr. T got me some Paco
Rebel.
I have what I mean. It's very strong though. Even the smallest touch of it is like, fucking hell. I wore it now and again, but sometimes I feel, it's too rich for me.
No, I mean I like it. I like it when girls smell nice.
Yeah, but that's a trick, isn't it? That's a trick. That's witchcraft. The art of scents and smells. That's to sort of stupefy you.
Yeah, yeah.
It kills some of your senses. It lures them in. It hypnotises them. You used to say, yeah, like you don't give a fuck. Right? You don't care that you're being mind controlled.
Well, no, but I understand the olfactory,
the occult
persuasions.
The occult olfactory.
Yeah, I can understand that very much.
So you're being hypnotised. You're being lured.
Of course you do.
But you just don't care.
You just go with the flow.
Yeah, like back to the snake, in the Jungle Book.
Exactly.
Like in the Jungle Book.
Exactly.
Because the women learned all their arts from the snake. They learnt the arts of the snake. Next door to Floris's, you see a plaque on the wall that remembers the great scientist Sir Isaac Newton, who lived at number 87 and 88 between 1696 and 1709. That's quite a long time. That's like 11. That's long enough. Further along, there is also a statue of. Come on, you must know this.
Oh, it's the daddy.
Yeah, that's a nice. Actually, that is a nice. That's a nice plaque. I like that. Simple, but there he is, the dandy.
Beau Brummel.
Beau Brummel. I've heard the name, but I didn't know too much about him until this walk, actually. So I will read from the book. Beau Brummel, 1778 to 1840, the first great dandy and close friend of the Prince Regent. Brummel's keen sense of fashion, insisting on perfect tailoring and an immaculately tied cravat, made him an influential figure in London, and the clubs of St James were his main haunt. Continue on until you reach St James's Street. Oh well, there you go. So that's all we found out.
No, but he was the what's his name? The Soho character. What's his name?
Burlington Bertie.
No, recent. Biscuit.
Junkie.
Yeah.
Heroin man. Sebastian.
Sebastian Horsley.
Horsley. Yeah. What? He was his inspiration, was he?
Well, I think it was yeah. Obviously, I mean, it's direct influence, isn't it?
Did you ever meet Horsley?
No.
Was you ever in the same room with him?
I think I walked past him in the street a few times.
One of his art pieces was him fucking a thalidomide.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
What do you think of that?
Oh, it's pretty hardcore.
Did you see the picture?
I saw the video. There's a video of it, isn't there?
Is there?
There's a film of him here.
A couple of times, 2 or 3 times, he would be because I used to take coffee with Mr. T on the in Soho.
Mm.
Don't really tend to do that so much these days, but 4 or 5 times he'd be sat a couple of tables along, but never spoke to him though. tall, very, very tall, made taller by his heels, and he'd always wear a very long, tall hat.
Yeah, like that.
But taller. And then he's not mentioned in the Soho Walk, is he? Which I thought was surprising, because he had
I thought his plaque on his door was mentioned, wasn't it?
No, not at all. No. What was mentioned was the fact I mentioned was its
Omission.
Yeah. I read his autobiography. Have you read it?
Yeah. He was
I mean, it's very witty.
because his parents were United Biscuits. Remember United Biscuits? That's where he got his money from.
Right. And he claims he was never taken seriously because of all the money behind him, but I don't believe that, because the art world is full of people with fucking money. But maybe it's because of that YBA period where everybody was trying to downplay there. If you did have money, you'd play it down, whereas he played all of that stuff up.
Yeah.
Didn't he? So maybe that was why.
Because he was northern, wasn't he? He was from up north.
Nouveau riche.
Yeah.
Apart from the actual incidents in his life, all of his aphorisms, like the most intelligent thing to come out of a woman's mouth is my cock, they're all nicked. They're all nicked.
Yeah.
Like 90% of them.
90% of his image, yeah.
But you know, I didn't leave the book disliking the guy. I thought he was alright, fair dues.
Yeah.
And then he died, didn't he? After he had a one-man show which he didn't turn up to, and died of a heroin overdose.
Yeah.
So well, I'll say it. Respect to Mr. Horsley. It's not where you're from; it's where you're at, isn't it? As they say. So Beau Brummel turns up actually again. So then we are directed to continue until you... and it was at this moment at Beau Brummel where we had our first incident with a member of the public,
Yes.
that funny woman.
Yeah.
She was like peering at us all funny, trying to work out what we were doing.
Yeah.
Without actually saying anything. And the rain was coming down. It was fairly heavy at this moment in time. Heavy enough to watch you step on the smooth pavement.
Yeah.
And it was clear to me that she was, what are they up to? And I turned to her and I said, Madam, we are on a historical walk. And so she said something about the rain and that, and I said, we are the elite of the elite.
That's right.
In the sense that the rain won't put us off.
Yeah.
And she was like, oh, glad to hear it.
Yeah.
Like that. And then we wended our way.
I like it when people do that. People sort of linger. They're not saying anything. It's like they want to be noticed. And I think it's good that you chimed in there.
If it hadn't been raining, I might have gone back and reread the piece about Beau Brummel for her.
Yeah.
Although that information is fairly scant. Did they make a film of Beau Brummel? I wonder what they would have done in it. Because it's not like he doesn't say, oh, he was a spy or anything like that. He was just some kind of... I mean, I can understand a dandy of those days. I've got time for these modern dandies. Although I know Halsey was like the apotheosis of that, but I don't have time for a lot of these Soho dandies. But anyway, so continue on until you reach St James Street. This contains one of the highest concentrations of members' clubs in St James, an area known as Clubland. Few of the clubs display their names outside, emphasising their exclusivity, and behind the permanently drawn shutters they remain, sacrificing children. No, it doesn't say that. Hidden to the public. The number of members inside the clubs of St James on any given day is probably never in excess of a few hundred. However, more than any other group found in Britain, this elite best exemplifies the term the Establishment, which is a club that we ran across in the first walk we did, the Soho walk.
That was Peter Cook's comedy club.
It wasn't, you fucking cunt. that was Derek and Clyde. Yes, it was. Of course. Visiting a club is nearly impossible without having connections to a member, but on this walk we will visit at least the outside of some of the most prestigious ones. The first, White's, is found at number 37. Now I will just skip. Oh dear, there's a lot actually. Well, I decided, having read that, to not be intimidated, or try not to be, by these clubs. So when we got to White's, I walked up the steps and stood right by the door to declaim like a Roman orator this stuff.
Yeah, and then as you were
doing that,
one of the members popped out.
Yeah.
For a sly snap.
Crafty fag.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he had the worst teeth. Well, the most unwashed teeth that I've ever seen. He had like this plaque that was like a... You know when boxers wear those little...
gum shields?
Yeah, it was like a gum shield but made entirely of plaque that covered all of his front teeth.
Or a horseshoe.
Yeah, it was absolutely foul.
And he was fucking ugly as well.
Yeah, he
was
like a wrinkly old fucking testicle in a suit.
It was one bollock sticking out of a... That was his head. It was one ball sticking out of the neck of a fucking suit.
Puffing on a fag with these fucking horrible
wispy
teeth.
pubes on the top of it. With this plaque horseshoe of teeth. And
he was listening sort of intently to what you were saying, but with the sort of nonchalantly kind of ignoring it at the same time.
And so there's a lot of info here. I'll try to not to be boring. White's is found at number 37. It's the oldest and arguably the most exclusive club in the world, the whole wide world. The early clubs developed out of the 18th century coffee and chocolate houses that became fashionable venues for gambling and gossip amongst the upper classes. White's began as White's Chocolate House in 1693, owned by Italian Francis White. Later it was run by White's assistant John Arthur and quickly became notorious for its members' flamboyant drinking and betting habits, such as the famous episode when Lord Arlington wagered £3,000, and that was a fuck of a lot of money back then. I mean, it's a lot of money now, but it's a lot more back then. When Lord Arlington wagered £3,000 on which of two raindrops would first reach the bottom of a window pane. More recently, it has become the club of choice for those who run the... Now, I'm not sure that this guy should be giving this kind of information away, because terrorists, blah, blah, blah. But more recently, it's become the club of choice for those who run the country's intelligence services, including MI6. The club building dates largely from around 1780, and look out for the celebrated bow window, where Beau Brummel and his fashionable friends used to station themselves. White set the model for the other clubs, offering fine dining, gaming and billiard tables, a library, smoking room and bars, as well as grand accommodation for those members travelling into London from their country estates. Membership is intentionally expensive, although the key to entry is who you know. Right, so a homeless person that knows, you know, Lord
Plackmouth.
Lord Plackmouth can say, I want this. Applicants have to suffer the potential indignity of being blackballed by existing members. I'd rather be blackballed than blueballed. Brummel used to gamble here, but this stopped after he fell out with the Prince Regent after being rude to the future king in public. Famously asking an acquaintance, Alvanley, who's your fat friend? I.e. Prince Regent. Without royal protection, Brummel's creditors came after him, and against the last wager recorded by him in White's betting book in 1815, the debt was marked not paid. This is interesting, isn't it? How a lot of these super rich people, even back then, they're living on reputation and credit.
Yeah.
Like they spunk all their money, but they're still walking around like they've got the money.
Yeah, but they got fuck all.
And they got fuck all.
Yeah.
And they'll just say to like some rich mate, they go, oh come on, Biggins,
Come on, Binky.
Come on, Binky, just chuck us £2,000. I can't get to the bloody funds at the moment.
Yeah.
You know, and Binky will just go, oh, all right,
Okay.
give it back to me. Come down to the.
Come down to the garage now. Sort it all out now.
And then it's like, then the next time Binky's like, Binky, don't bother me for a mere £2,000. Meanwhile, he's getting another £2,000 off of Linky.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, it's funny. British Prime Minister David Cameron, whose father was once chairman of the club, resigned as a member due to its controversial policy of not admitting women as members. What? No, nil commento. Although he is still thought to visit the club socially. Cross over onto Bennett Street, then turn left at the Blue Post's public house. This has its origins in the 17th century. It was named after the Blue Post used to advertise the services of a local sedan chair company. Right, we took a little bit of I remember it's nothing special about this. Apart from Lord Byron lived next door, I again talked to a member of the public, an Italian fellow, who wondered what the history was. Nothing particularly to say about that. Continue left along Arlington Street, where at the end is a tiny passageway. Now, he says tiny passageway.
Yes, and this is where you can really go for this bloke. The man who wrote this book, right? We were with a guy in a wheelchair. Okay, what's this guy's name? Who wrote this book? What's his name? I want to know his name.
Stephen Miller.
Stephen Miller. Okay, we were with a fucking man in a wheelchair, and you described this as what? A narrow alley. A narrow alley. It's a fucking
tiny passageway.
A tiny passageway. It's a steep bloody staircase. It's it's not wheelchair friendly in any sense of the word.
Right.
If he had ventured down there, he probably would have ended up in A&E. So we had to go all the way around. This guy, the guy with the wheelchair, had to go all the way around.
He did.
And I mean, have you even done these walks?
He hasn't done them. And if he has done them, he's done them with his nose in the air, with nary a thought for the disabled.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Not give a fuck. Couldn't care less about the differently abled. You know what I mean? Don't give a fuck about them. It's like, fuck, sod you, I'm alright. Right. So yeah, Miller, you need to mend your ways. You need to mend your ways, sir. There you go. You'll be alright with that, won't you? Cheers. Cheers. Cheers, big ears. Right. Now, let me finish this roll up that I'm making. Do we sound very dissolute, listener? Drinking and smoking and...
You can cut all this out.
I'm not going to cut why.
Look
at his character. All these other fucking historian people, they come up, they got the facts, they got the figures. What they haven't got is fucking personality. And that's what we've got in spades. You know what I mean? Could we've got so much personality in spades, you could dig a fucking hole with them. And that's what we're doing, digging our own hole. So anyway, yes, this tiny passageway. I did go down it, but the others went round the corner. Had to go all around the shop. Anyway, on the right is the London clubhouse of the Royal Overseas League. This was founded by Sir Evelyn Wren. Can you remember this bit?
Oh yes, it's great. This is another really hidden. This is, if you're not familiar with this area, and if you hadn't gone down this little passageway, you'd have absolutely no idea this was there.
I mean, I'm not familiar with this area particularly, but I think even if I was, I wouldn't have known of this.
No, it's completely hidden away. But I think with good reason, I think I think a lot of these places don't, all these clubs, they don't. There's nothing to. They don't have
Do you remember this one though? It's the Royal Overseas League.
Yeah,
It was founded by Sir Evelyn Wrench in 1910 to
Yeah.
foster international understanding and friendship.
Yes, I do remember.
It has over 20,000 members
Mm.
worldwide, and it boasts 80 bedrooms.
Yeah. I know, you wouldn't believe it, because it's like hidden in the middle of nowhere.
Right, exactly. But it must be huge.
Yeah.
But you've never fucking heard of it or seen
Yeah,
it or
no.
anything, you know? Now, I think it was around this point that we started getting comms from fucking little Ginger. That little Ginge, you know what I mean? Constantly asking, where are we? Where are we? Where are we? How do I, you know,
Yeah.
and all of this.
Uh-huh.
And Mr. T even tried to mark us phone-wise so he could follow our step, and that didn't seem to work. Head along Parks Place towards St James Street. Pratt's is on the right hand. Pratt's, you know, they don't care. That's the rich for you, isn't it? Yeah, we'll have a club called Pratt's.
Yeah. But this was where all the staff are called George, is that right? Is it George?
Pratt's is on the right hand side at number 14, a modestly sized club compared to some others. It's principally a private dining venue that can only accommodate 14 members at a time.
That's right, and it's at number 14.
Yeah. It was founded after the Duke of Beaufort went to see his steward William Nathaniel Pratt one night in 1841. What's his steward? Is that like a butler or something? Himself so much that he and his friends kept coming back. After Pratt died in 1860, his widow and son continued to run the club. Unlike most of the other clubs, it's only open in the evenings, and oddly, all the servants at the club are known as George.
I think that's a great tradition.
Do you think it's a bit creepy?
Well, I'd love to go. Can you imagine if you went for a job there and they said, "Oh, like by the way, your name's George now."
No, but you could. No, but you could. If you put on some Floris '89,
Yeah.
you could probably just knock on the door and say, "I'm here to see George." "No, why are you here?" George said. George said.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
I might try that.
It'd be a lark.
I might try that.
Might be a lark. Opposite Pratt's is Brooks, which in typically secretive clubland style does not bear a street number. It was founded in Pall Mall in 1764 and moved here in 1778 under the management of William Brooks. It also became notorious for the heavy gambling habits of its members, with the politician Charles James Fox having to resort to borrowing from the waiters. See, they're always fucking up, you know.
They're on their uppers.
Yeah, it's like they've got all this money, but they've just got so much money. Just
They
spend
just glide through life.
like
They just
fucking-
glide through life.
Oh, come on, Binky.
Oh dear, Binky.
Don't Binky. What, bothering me for 6,000. What, you on your uppers or something? You know, and Binky's probably borrowed from fucking Slinky and Winky. You know, and it's like
It's just debts. The debts just go move around.
it's all a fucking great game, isn't it? You know, and the club became associated with the Whig liberal aristocracy, and is in the very upper tier of the great clubs in the area, along with Whites and Boodles. Can you remember one of the odder wagers recorded in Brooks' betting book?
Oh, it wasn't the hot air balloon. Yeah.
Alright, I'll just say it. I don't know what Lord Cholmondeley has given 2 guineas to Lord Derby to receive 500 guineas whenever his lordship fucks a woman in a balloon 1,000 yards from the earth. But it's not told whether it was ever, you know,
Paid out.
yeah, whether they were completed. Past members have included William Wilberforce, Sir Joshua Reynolds and Edward Gibbon. Opposite Brooks on the other side of St James Street at number 28 is Boodles. Founded in 1762 by Lord Shelburne, it was named after the head waiter, Edward Boodle.
I think it's important to mention that none of this is signed. There's no signage for any of this.
Yeah.
It's all blank, like facades.
Yeah, you would have no idea what's. You'd
Yeah.
have no idea. You'd have no idea. It's particularly popular amongst the country set when visiting London. The club has been based here since 1783. Notable members have included politicians Charles James Fox, Pitt the Elder and the Younger, and William Wilberforce, the philosopher David Hume, the economist Adam Smith, and the Duke of Wellington. Traditionally, the most senior officers of MI6 belong to Whites, while more junior officers belong to Boodles. Ian Fleming, Bond creator and a member of the intelligence services, joined Boodles from Whites because he thought members of Whites gas too much. I think that means they fart too much.
No. Spilling the beans. Talk too much.
Oh, okay. He based the Blades Club found in the Bond novels on Boodles. Unsurprisingly, Boodles members have a reputation for bravery for having received the Victoria Cross. Continue down St James Street, where on the right is the hidden. Now, this is where little Ginge was getting very persistent, and so Mr. T had to try and go and find him.
That's right.
And you guys went into an art gallery.
Oh, and it had a Marc Chagall exhibition on.
Oh, it actually had an exhibition on, did it?
It was Marc Chagall, yeah.
All right. Tell us more.
And we went in there, and we were perplexed at the fact that all the prices of the paintings and drawings on show were priced in dollars and not pounds. And we made an inquiry into this, and we were told that
Did you put on a posh voice to do it?
No, but I think they kind of assumed that we were
Posh it.
interested in buying stuff because we were making inquiries about the price. And your friend in the wheelchair, like, said, "Oh, you've hung one of these paintings is slightly wonky." And like, they actually moved it for him.
And was it wonky?
Yeah, it was slightly.
How slightly?
Like very slightly, a few like millimeters. And they said the reason is because they were sold in America, and because they was, well, that was the price that they were sold at in America. I think.
What brand of art was Chagall? Impressionist? Fauvist? Pointillist?
I don't know. He's kind of like a. I don't know. He's his own kind of. I couldn't really tell you.
Did you like any of it?
Well, he was actually it's my dad's like favourite artist.
Oh.
And that's how I just always remember my dad said, "Oh yeah, like if I had to choose a favourite artist, I'd choose Marc Chagall."
Your dad was an art lover?
Not particularly, but he said that he always liked Marc Chagall. I mean, I don't. I'm not, I don't think it's that great.
Yeah, it doesn't excite me particularly. It's that sort of I don't want to
Twee,
slag off
a
your
bit
dad's
twee.
favourite artist.
No,
It's
but-
that sort of standard art, sixth form art class sort of.
I don't know. It's kind of sort of fantasy, sort of. I don't know. It's not fantasy. It's,
Absinthe infused.
I don't know. It's kind of like
street and bar scenes and stuff like that.
no, but it's kind of poetic, sort of dreamy. I can't really describe it.
Yeah, but it's not like pre-Raphaelite, is it? It's not photorealistic.
No, it's kind of like fairy tale, sort of whimsical sort of thing.
Right. But yeah, but that's what pre-Raphaelite is, but it's not. Anyway, Mr. T had to come back without having found Little Ginge, and then we went down. And fucking Little Ginge managed to catch up and find us. So and then couldn't have a go at him. about his lateness, his tardiness, because he claimed that a friend of his had died the day before. So, right. Oh.
Well, that's a good excuse. Isn't it?
Yeah, I used to use that at school all the time for homework. It's not being done. My granddad died hundreds of times. So anyway, the gang were all joined, almost, practically, at this point. So, moving swiftly on. Continue down St James Street, where on the right is the hidden Blue Bull Yard. It's worth a detour as it contains some small cottages from the 1740s that once housed. That's a picture of Blue Bull Yard.
Oh yeah. We went in there.
Once housed coachmen, and together with a vast network of old underground cellars, is now part of the Stafford Hotel. A vast network of old underground cellars.
Yep.
Anything more to say about that?
We were going to stop off there and have a drink, but then we looked at the prices and thought, no.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Go on then, give us an example.
Well, it just seemed like not worth it.
Continue along St James Street until on the right hand side, just after the junction with St James Place, you will find the Carlton Club at number 69. Look how banal it looks in that, like, you would just be like, oh, I don't know, more brick.
That's the whole point, isn't it? Secrecy.
This is this was another incident with a member of the general public, wasn't it? At number 69, this is a great Tory club founded in 1832 by Tory peers and MPs as a place to organise their resistance to the Whigs after their rivals had just won a stunning general election in 1831, running on a reform mandate. The modern Conservative Party owes much of its development to the Carlton, although it stopped being the central party office in the 1860s. And some bloke was overhearing us, eavesdropping, and he came and gave a drop of information which I can't quite remember right now. Something about how it hadn't always been at this spot, the Carlton Club, or it had been somewhere else.
That's right, yeah. No, yeah, because it was bombed out. But it moved.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, well remembered. At the infamous Carlton Club meeting on the 19th of October 1922, backbench Conservative MPs decided to overthrow their leader, Austin Chamberlain, and withdraw from the David Lloyd George-led coalition. The club moved to its current premises after its previous home in Pall Mall was bombed during World War II. It suffered another bombing in 1990 when the IRA attacked it. So it's all... He gives you the impression that they've been there since 1832 in that particular spot, but it hasn't. So, anyway, the IRA bombed it in 1990. In 2008, members finally voted to allow women to have full membership rights. 127 years after the club was founded, the only exception prior to this was for Margaret Thatcher, who was granted an honorary membership, giving her the same rights as male members. Walk down St James Place, passing the entrance to Spencer House on the left, and bear right. We had another incident coming up. Yes. Now, let me just read this through to the end of the hotel. Just opposite the Stafford Hotel is a small alleyway that you walk down to reach Green Park. Oh, that was easy enough. Then head left to see Spencer House, again with its fine garden. There's the picture of it.
That was right, yeah, and then it stopped raining for a little while.
It did. And it was at this point that, I don't know what to call him. I'll call him Mr. Bean for the sake of it, because he's quite tall, Beanpole.
Yep.
He turned up, puffed out, he'd run. So it's funny, he was there. So now the gang was like eight of us. And he and Little Ginge have turned into they've become like a little pair, those two. Yeah, they're like thick as thieves. Right, okay, fair enough. So then head left to see Spencer House. Again, this was once the London home of the Spencer family, of which Diana, Princess of Wales, was the most famous recent member. Commissioned by the first Earl Spencer in 1756, the house is an early example of neoclassical architecture, with palatial interiors designed by James Athenian Stewart, with later remodelling by Henry Holland. The Spencers lived here until 1895, and although they returned sporadically after that, it was normally let out to tenants. In recent years, the building, one of the few great 18th century private houses remaining in central London, has been splendidly restored by a consortium led by Lord Rothschild. Just after Spencer's house is another aristocratic pile, the even grander Bridgewater House, which was designed in the Italian Renaissance style by Sir Charles Barry, architect of the House of Parliament, completed in 1854. Now, immediately after the end of the house, head left through a narrow entrance in the gates. Well, not again. Here, no thought for the differently abled, because there were significant steps up. And this guy, him having some pride in himself, I said, well, we could lift you up. He wouldn't have it. He said, there will be no lifting. So again, we had to think on our feet. I had to look at the map. And we had to walk around the block, so to speak, didn't we?
Yeah.
Which thus means that how we walked won't exactly match what the book says, but I will do the book thing because it's easier than trying to remember exactly how we walked. So the next thing we came across was the Tudor gatehouse of St James Palace on the right hand side. Do you remember that?
Yes. Yeah.
Henry VIII built the palace in the 1530s on the site of a leper hospital. Did he have it knocked down? Or it just had been, I mean, you know. And it was his principal London residence. David Starkey said it was all very watery back then. Previously, Henry VIII had loved Greenwich. It was the principal London residence during his marriage to Anne Boleyn. The palace became one of the main residences of the English monarchy for the next 300 years, and the most senior of them all after the Palace of Whitehall was destroyed by fire in 1698. Now, this is where it'd be good if Mr. T was here, because we were led here on a previous walk that we tested with a reputable tour operator. It's supposed to be haunted. It was only in 1837 that the newly crowned Queen Victoria decided to move the main home of the monarchy to Buckingham Palace. But St James remains the official royal residence, the reason why foreign ambassadors are still formally accredited to the court of St James. So, okay. Let's take a break for a moment, shall we? Do you mind?
No.
So, sorry, listener, I just paused it because I was fearing that it was coming across a bit dry for you, and maybe it is, but like always with these walks, a lot of it is it's hard to convey the, you know, because he says, oh, next you come to this, but you're not, the in-between bits aren't there, so a lot of it's that sense of exploration, isn't it? And the social side as well, because there was like 9 of us by now. It was a gang.
Yeah, it was like
so
you have to understand that when you're walking, these things are passing you by. You know, imagine like being on like a Ferris wheel or a roundabout. These things are happening in real time. You're walking through historical London.
Yeah.
And
And you're seeing more than just the things that
you can't really kind of
that
put
are being
it
pointed
into
out.
in this book. It's like you turn the page, but in real life, you walk around a corner and there's a whole new vista in front of you.
Yeah.
It can't be explained in the way that the guy who wrote the book.
I mean, at this point in time, the sun had come out now, and there were like 9 of us.
Yeah.
It was a parade. It was a gang. And so you get all the fun and the tribulations of that. So just to add that little bit in. So I'll just read this bit. Right next door to St James Palace is Clarence House, that was completed in 1827, designed by John Nash for the third son of... And on the walk, sometimes I will just make shit up as well, but that's entertaining. Well, hopefully it is. I'll always admit when I've made something up. But anyway, designed by John Nash for the third son of George III, Prince William Henry, Duke of Clarence. Based on the southwestern corner of St James Palace, it is identifiable by the heavy police presence outside. Do you remember seeing them? I wouldn't have called it heavy. There were like 2 or 3 of them with guns.
Yeah.
It was in recent years the home of the Queen Mother and is now the main residence of
Prince Charles
and
Camilla Parker Bowles.
I fucking hate Camilla. Diana died. Diana was murdered, so this whore Camilla.
Yeah, but it's weird to walk past their house. It is odd to walk past their house.
They're in there knobbing morning, noon and night. You can actually visit Clarence House on a guided tour between August and September, but tickets must be pre-booked. The Chapel Royal is an historic organisation comprising singers and priests who traditionally accompanied the court as it travelled around the country. However, over time it became permanently based within the 2 chapels at this palace, the Chapel Royal and the Queen's Chapel. The Chapel Royal, whose windows can be seen to the right of the gatehouse, was constructed under the patronage of Henry VIII, decorated by Hans Holbein. Mary the First's heart is buried beneath the choir stalls.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And Elizabeth III said her prayers in the chapel for an English victory against the Spanish Armada in 1588. Victoria was married in the chapel, and in 1997 the coffin of Diana, Princess of Wales, lay here before her funeral in Westminster Abbey. It's also considered to be the centre of English church music, and past organists have included Henry Purcell and Handel, the later appointed by Charles II as composer of music of His Majesty's Chapel Royal. And we came across Handel previously with the regard to the walk down in Vauxhall. He did the song for the fireworks, the tune for the fireworks down there. Why is her heart, Mary the First's heart, buried beneath the choir stalls?
I don't know.
That's macabre. She was executed, yeah? We don't know. Listener, look it up. Or shall I? I will do that actually in a moment. We're going to do another pause now. And when we come back, I'll have the information about Mary the First's heart. Also, I'll go to the shop. O 0207 930 4832. Put it on speaker.
Good afternoon, Buckingham Palace.
Hello, I've got an inquiry about the Chapel Royal.
One moment, please.
Why is Mary the First's heart buried there?
What is your inquiry, please?
Well, I've got a guidebook here, and it's about the Chapel Royal. It says that Mary the First's heart is buried in the Chapel Royal, and I wanted to know if that is actually true, and if so, why?
Let me give you the information. They might be able to help. One moment, please.
Okay.
Information office.
Hello.
Hello.
I've got an inquiry about the Chapel Royal.
Right.
I've got a guidebook. It's a guide to London, and it states in this guide that Mary the First's heart is buried in the Chapel Royal. I wanted to know if this is true, and if so, why?
Right. It's Chapel Royal,
Yes.
which makes it slightly tricky. Let me see if I can find a quick answer for you.
Okay, thanks.
I may have to put the phone down because I'm going to be looking in a book, but I will try to find it without.
All right, thank you.
Which Chapel Royal are they talking about? Do you know?
The
Hello?
yeah, hi. The Chapel Royal
Which?
It's
which
next to Clarence
Chapel
House.
Royal
next
are
to
they
the
talking
one next to
about?
Clarence House.
Right, so it's St James's Palace. There's also one at Hampton Court Palace, which is why I asked.
Oh right, no, the other one.
And the guidebook, you say it's in a guidebook, do you?
Yes.
It's an official guidebook.
Yes, it's a guide. It's a guide. It's like a historical walks of London.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
How interesting. I've never heard of it, and I can't find it here, I'm afraid. This is going to sound very pedantic, but if you really are keen to find the answer, other than taking the guidebook's word for it, I would need to ask you to write to the Royal Archives, and I'm really sorry, but not email. Post.
Right. The Royal Archive.
Yes.
Do you have an address?
You can't speak to them on the phone, I'm afraid. You'd have to put a letter in the post.
Oh right. Do you have the address?
Yes, certainly. It's the Royal Archives.
The Royal
It's
Archive.
got something to write with.
Yes.
Yeah. Windsor Castle,
The Royal Archive, Windsor Castle,
Berkshire,
Berkshire,
and that's S for sugar L4,
SL4
1N for Nicholas J.
1NJ.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
I'm sorry I can't give you the answer, but it's got all sorts of things about the Chapel Royal at St James's Palace, but not anything about.
Thank you very much, because we tried to look online as well, and there was no information about it.
Yeah, there's no information online either. Oh, I think it's gone.
Sorry.
Hello?
Are you saying something or not?
No, yeah, I was saying I've been searching online for the answer, but nothing online either.
Right. Well, that's my best tip for you. If it's true, the Royal Archives will have some sort of evidence of it. But if you write to them, you can't ring them, I'm afraid. But if you write to them, I'm sure they'll give you any help that they can.
All right then. Okay. All right. Cheers.
All right.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right. Bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Well, that's a load of fucking good, isn't it?
Well, Miller, your reputation hangs in the balance. I might write to them, you know.
Well, you should do.
Yeah.
You can't just bandy this information about and not fucking come up with the bloody.
Yeah, Miller, your reputation. Oh, it hangs on. It's on a knife edge. You should have finished the. You should have finished the phone call by saying, "Oh, just one more thing." And she'd have gone, "Oh yes, yes." You'd have gone like, "Do you know where I can get some bollock protectors?"
Well, no, I would if I.
Because we used to crank call shops on the Isle of Wight, going to saying, "Do you know where I can get some bollock protectors?"
Oh yeah, no, I used to do it all the time.
She seems like a nice lady.
I used to phone people up and saying that I was dying.
Oh. What? They'd be like, why aren't you calling an ambulance?
Say, help me! Help, I'm dying! Where are you? Where are you?
Really? What sort of places would you ring?
Just like random numbers, like in my village.
But didn't they know you? They didn't know your voice. All right. Okay. Well, that's going to go well, and that would be a nice bit in the, in the documentary. We're back. Well, that was a nice phone call. Sounds like a lovely lady to me. And I will write that letter. So, now we found ourselves at the Queen's Chapel, just past the Tudor Gatehouse on the right down Marlborough Road. It was built during the reign of James I for Henrietta Maria, the Catholic bride of his son, later Charles I, and designed by Inigo Jones. Although the public cannot visit the chapels as tourists, they can attend services. These are held in the Chapel Royal every Sunday. I might start visiting some of these church services, like these posh ones, like the Knights Templar. I want to do that.
Mm.
That's the first one on the list. We really need to get that organised, actually. But I've been very busy recently. What with these courses I've been doing. I learned how to use Excel spreadsheet at the digital course the other day.
That's exciting.
Well, it's actually, I felt like I'd achieved something. It does maths for you, like big maths, in an instant. It's not only the formulas and just type in the numbers right. It just bing bang bosh, It does.
I have used it before.
Now, immediately to the right of the Queen's Chapel on Marlborough Road is a poignant monument to Queen Alexandra. Now, can you?
And this I thought was outstanding part of the walk, actually. Completely unknown to me. Never knew about this at all. And actually, because we walked past this before we actually came to look at it properly.
Yeah.
And I thought, well, why the hell are you walking past this?
Yeah.
It was like stunning.
Yeah.
And it was like, then you said, yes, we're coming back to that.
Yeah.
And this sculpture by the same guy that did Eros and Piccadilly Circus.
That's right.
But I think it's far superior to Eros. Stunning piece of sculpture. Reminded me of Geiger. Who did the Alien sets. It's similar, it's all black, but it's got these funny little tubes. Like, I was talking to one of the other guys who's on the walk.
Bean. Or the gay guy.
Mr. P.
Yeah.
And we both noticed these tubes, these weird little tubes at the top of the sculpture, and we thought that maybe they were like for gas, for like gas light.
Oh.
But yeah, look at it. It's quite incredible.
These?
Yeah, no, but if you go, can you get to the so you can actually see the top of it?
I don't know why it won't scroll. Oh, there.
Yeah.
There.
Yeah, there's like these little kind of thin little tubes, sort of kind of all running around. And we thought that maybe they were like full of gas, for like gas light.
Isn't it a bit paedophilic? And what's it actually depicting? What's happening in it?
Well, I presume that that's Queen Alexandra with the crown on. And this sort of half-naked child. I mean, it's quite. I mean, it's odd. It's weird. Kind of creepy.
You
But,
can't even tell if that's a boy or a girl. I
No.
mean, I think it's a girl because it's wearing a dress. But like, a bit
It's not really clear.
Yeah.
And then these two other kind of figures.
Yeah. Maybe that's her soul. The child is the soul.
I don't know, but it's kind of, yeah. It was giving me strong Geiger vibes.
Yes, yeah. I can see what you mean. There's that kind of a weird grandeur.
Mm.
Yeah. I mean, in here he doesn't say much at all about it, apart from.
And it's got these glass on these kind of pillars either side. The glass in those.
Well, they must have been lit then.
They
they
were,
must
but the
have
glass
been
is so thick on the on the.
They must have been lit. They had. Yeah, this is Queen Alexandra, 1844 to 1925. So they definitely had gas lighting there. So they would have been lit up. That would have been. Those would definitely have been. Those glass things would definitely have been alive.
But these strange little tubes. I mean, they don't look. I mean, if they were part of the design, because they look oddly sort of functional. Do you know what I mean?
I mean, it could research it. I mean, you'd have to write in Sir Alfred Gilbert, and then you get to his Wikipedia page, and then from there you could find his Queen Alexandra monument.
But yeah, I mean, that is a piece of London kind of history that I just didn't know was there.
Gilbert, who designed it, he had to be persuaded to return to England because he'd left England because he didn't think he got enough acclaim for his Eros. So he thought, "Oh, fuck you then," and went into self-imposed exile. But he returned to do this monument, and this helped to secure him a knighthood and revitalise his reputation.
I mean, like Eros, it's only famous really because of where it is. But this is by far a much grander, more interesting work of art. But I never even knew about it. I can't believe it. It's incredible.
This is also we found out that Mr. P, he didn't know what the word poignant meant. Fucking Greek, fucking cunt. From the palace, crossover Pall Mall. Its name derived from. Can you remember?
No.
A French mallet and ball game named Paley Maley,
Oh yeah.
which had become a craze in the early 17th century London. Head up St James Street, looking over to number 86, where Mark Mason's Hall is located. This is the Grand Lodge of Mark Master Masons, headed by Grand Master Prince Michael of Kent. It is also the administrative centre of many other exotically named Masonic orders, including, and this is just one name for one order, the Ancient and Honourable Fraternity of Royal Ark Mariner, the Great Priory and Great Priory of Malta, the Order of the Secret Monitor, and the Royal Order of the Masonic Knights of the Scarlet Cord. Oh no, I think they're all separate. That's not just one word, sorry. While you cannot visit the hall as a member of the public, you can walk around the back and down a small alleyway to see the Masonic emblems on the windows of the main room. We did not do that. On the right at number 3, St James Street, is one of London's most fascinating shops, Berry Brothers and Rudd Wine Merchants. It's the country's oldest wine merchant, has occupied this shop and the massive cellars underneath again, for over 300 years. It was founded as the coffee mill in 1698 by the widow Bourne, and was originally a grocer's shop before later developing its wine speciality. The size of the interior gives little hint of the vast cellars underneath, that until fairly recently held thousands of bottles and stretched out under Pickering Place next door. Napoleon I once held secret meetings in the cellars during his stay in London in the mid-19th century. The enormous set of scales that reside on the ground floor date from the shop's days as grocery. Many of the personal details of the 30,000 people who paid to be weighed here over the decades can still be read in the grand ledger books. Why did people pay to be weighed? Oh, okay, because scales weren't a common thing, I suppose, and so you go to the shop to be weighed.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Well, do you remember when they used to have? I remember going to the post office, and they used to have like a weighing scales in the post office. Do you remember that?
For people?
Yeah. Well, no, like in supermarkets, they used to have like a.
Oh, yeah.
And like in the pharmacy, they used to have it.
Yeah, but bathroom scales were a thing when I was a kid.
No, but I just remember these sort of public weighing things. It's like a.
Or maybe they weren't. Maybe they only came in a bit later.
Yeah.
The history of weighing things, people. You can ask to see the ledgers with the people's weights, including notable visitors include the Duke of Wellington, Lord Byron, who was famously obsessed by his weight. Didn't know that. Beau Brummell, William Pitt, Laurence Olivier, and Fighting George Fitzgerald. Fitzgerald was a madcap eccentric born in 1748 who was educated at Eton and was hanged in 1786. What's 48 from 86? Well, what's 50 from 86? That's 36. Plus 2 is 38. So he was hanged at the age of 38. One day he came to Bury Brothers to be weighed, and an acquaintance stopped to remark, "I smell the blood of an Irishman." You know, just a jocular remark. Fitzgerald jumped off the scales and drew his sword, cutting off the man's nose and shouting, "I'll be damned if you ever smell another." If that seems unreasonable behaviour, it compares favourably to the time Fitzgerald became so angry with his father that he imprisoned him in a cave with a wild bear.
I think it's a psychopath.
But, so was it because of cutting off the guy's nose that he was eventually hanged? If so, that just shows the quirks of aventure, as they called it in the 14th century, chance. If that day he had chosen not to weigh himself, you know. But he seemed like he was on a path to hanging anyway.
Yeah.
Now, this is when we were joined by the last member of the party, Andy Pandy, you know.
With his expensive shoes.
Yeah, well, this is it. Beside number 3 is Pickering Place. Pickering Place. Now, this is where I got to really stretch my theatrical legs. I won't be able to do it here, reader, but Pickering Place is the smallest square in London and once home to the Republic of Texas legation in the years before Texas joined the United States of America. Pickering Place was notorious in the 18th century for its gambling dens and jewels, and Beau Brummell is said to have thought a jewel here. The house, and at this point I acted out a jewel. It was very good. Everybody liked it. The houses date from the 1730s and were built. I even fell to the floor, saying, "Give my love to Harry." Harry Mary, supposed to be a girl, but whatever. The houses date from the 1730s and were built by William Pickering, son-in-law of the founder of the original grocer's shop next door. Continue north past Hatters. James Lock & Co., founded around 1676, which commissioned Thomas and William Bowler to create the famous bowler hat in 1850. The shop actually calls it the Coke hat, after their customer William Coke, who originally asked them to create a robust design that would help protect the heads of his gamekeepers from low-hanging trees. The staff are very friendly and will show you the strange machine used to measure the size of a customer's head. The result being a card displaying the key dimensions. On the shop wall are framed cards for, among others, Lord Lucan, Charlie Chaplin, General de Gaulle and Evelyn Waugh. Others who have worn hats from Locks include Oscar Wilde, the Duke of Wellington and Lord Nelson, who was killed wearing a hat from Locks on the Victory in 1805. Just beside Locks is John Lobb, the bootmaker. I'm John Lobb, bootmaker. That's my name, John Lobb. Based here since the 1850s, Lobbs contains around 12,000 foot lasts, individual wooden models made for each customer's foot. Past customers include Enrico Caruso, Frank Sinatra, Dean Martin, Aristotle Onassis, George Bernard Shaw, Cole Porter, Rex Harrison, and our friend Andy Pandy, who just joined us to jump in and say, "Hey, I've got shoes from there." You know, so you can ask to see the book that contains the paper patterns used to make the lasts for the shop's distinguished clientele. Lobbs can take 6 months to make a pair of shoes, and a typical price is around £2,200. How the other half live. Continue on and head right onto King Street. Now this is where we took a pub break, didn't we?
Yeah.
Anything to say about the pub break?
Had a pint of Guinness.
I had a pint of Guinness as well. And so
Had
did
a
Mr.
chat
Bean.
with Mr. Bean.
Yeah. Can't really divulge the nature of that chat.
Yeah.
But the upshot of it was they're all slags. You know.
Kind of. But no, it's interesting. Well, what you're saying about the hat makers.
Yeah. Sorry, I ran through that a bit fast, but yes.
You know, I remember coming up to London when I was a kid, like in the sort of late 70s, like early 80s, and seeing like you know, city gents, like there was loads of people who used to wear bowler hats, like it was like a proper uniform. Remember that distinctly, like loads of men wearing bowler hats, but you just don't see that anymore at all.
No. Yes, there's a casualness to everything these days, which I wouldn't mind a bit of a return to formality of the past, or at least even just the surface formality of the past, because apparently underneath everything it was always a teeming cesspit. But I like that.
The facade.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
As long as you know you're just keeping up appearance.
Yeah.
You don't have to, you know, yes, we're all...
As long as I've got my bowler hat on, I can just go about my business.
Yeah.
I might be a bloody raving paedophile underneath it all, but as long as I've got my bowler hat on, I'm respectable.
Yeah. Yes. Well, these days they're trying to bloody legalise that. Next it's going to be LGBTQ and fucking
P.
Which, you know, I don't really agree with, to be honest with you, myself. And I was reading the other day that the whole thing about in the American West, they wore cowboy hats.
Yeah.
They didn't. They wore bowlers for the most part.
Really?
The cowboy hat came
Made by
along
Lock.
a bit later.
Made by Lock & Co. They shipped them over there.
Well, certainly in the beginning. Somebody did come in with a counter argument, but I'm going to ignore that. I can't remember it. Yeah, not much to say about the pub, but there's this point that Mr. Wheels dropped out. You know, it'd been a lot. You know, it was extra tiring for him. The arms aren't as strong as if you're, you know, a fully functioning human.
Mm-hmm.
The legs are stronger than the arms generally, aren't they? I would say.
Well, it depends how much you use them, I suppose.
Anyway, so we stopped at the pub. That was okay. Continue on and head right onto King Street. On the north side, you pass Christie's Auctioneers, founded in 1766 by James Christie and based here since 1823. Few tourists to the main art galleries in London know that Christie's can be visited on weekdays and often has museum quality pieces on display. Call this number if you want to know more about it. Then he mentions, if you need refreshment at this point, opposite Christie's is atmospheric Golden Lion Public House, which is where we were. Built near the site of the long demolished St James Theatre, where Oscar Wilde used to premiere his plays in the late 19th century. Napoleon III lived in exile from France at number 1C in 1848. The blue plaque is the oldest in London and bears the French imperial eagle. Did we find that or not?
I don't remember that.
No. Follow the map back and head right up Duke Street, St James, looking out on the right hand side for the narrow entrance into Mason's Yard. Now suddenly darkness seemed to descend. Quickly, it seemed to me.
Mm-hmm.
Like it had been bright blue and now suddenly it was dark. I had to get the torch out. The White Cube Gallery. Well, I can't be bothered to read what he's, You got anything to say about the White Cube Gallery?
Well, that incarnation of the White Cube, what I remember it from.
I went to its opening, I think.
Did you? I remember going there to see what I think is a great piece of artwork is Christian Marclay's The Clock. Do you know, familiar with that piece?
No, it doesn't remind me.
It's a collection of snippets of films throughout the history of film where clocks are part of the story, and he has gathered 24 hours worth of these little clips of clocks in films, and they actually he's made it so it actually is a functioning clock. So when you go in to this exhibition, you start watching it, the time it is in real life will be the time in these clips from films that you're watching on the screen. And it's incredible. You can sit in there for as long as you like. It goes around 24-hour cycle of all these little clips of clocks. And
except that nobody sees it after it shuts at 6 p.m.
No, you can sit in there 24 hours.
Could you?
Yeah. The whole idea of it, you can go in there whenever you want. And I thought that was a major. I think that is one of the best pieces of art that I've seen. It was incredible.
It's a bit anal.
Yeah, extremely. But it's also fantastic.
Nothing wrong with a bit of anal. And we took a good photo of the birthday boy at this point. Walked to the northeast corner of the yard. In the 1960s, this was for a while the epicentre of swinging London, an oasis of hedonism and radicalism amongst the stuffy clubs of St James. You call them stuffy, but back in the 1700s or whatever, they were in there like drinking fucking laudanum and opium that they just bought over the counter and fucking, isn't it?
Yeah.
So you call them stuffy, but they were tripping out more than you ever fucking trip out. You know, your bloody LSD. I drank a bottle of that shit back in I'm just pushing back a little bit about this idea that everybody in the past was a stuffy old cunt. You know what I mean? And it's only in the 60s that everything started fucking blossoming.
Yeah, I think this is a great myth.
First look out for a nightclub called Scotch of St James. In the 1960s, this exclusive venue attracted regulars such as the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, The Who, Eric Clapton. The Stones manager Andrew Loog Oldham later remembered how Lennon and McCartney, Jagger and Richards and I and our ladies would sit back in a dark corner and smoke and gloat. I don't like them saying the word gloat like that. You know what I mean? It was also where in September 1966 Jimi Hendrix first played in public after arriving in London. The venue closed for many years but reopened bearing the same illustrious name in 2011. Number 23 nearby once hosted the Indica Bookshop and Gallery, founded in 1965 by Peter Asher, Barry Miles. Whatever. He's a biographer, and biography is the worst form of art. Autobiography is the worst form of art. Anyway, moving swiftly on. And John Dunbar, met them both. Then married to singer Marianne Faithfull, and she still buys his heroin for him now. Is she still alive, or did she die?
I think no, she's still alive. Yeah.
Yeah, she still buys his heroin for. No, she pays his rent.
Really?
She still pays his rent. Yeah, because he's like, it's like one of these posh bums. Paul McCartney, then in a relationship with Jane Asher, was also involved in the enterprise, designing the wrapping paper, helping put up the shelves, and putting his hand in his pocket when the bills mounted up. The seminal 60s London Underground journal, the International Times, began in the basement, and one of the most famous events in rock history took place at the Indica, when in November 1966, John Lennon attended an art exhibition by Yoko Yes and met his future wife for the first time. Indica was named after cannabis indica, and that is where the birthday boy took a photo, which I must get hold of because I think it might be quite good.
My mum used to play with Jane Asher when she was a kid.
Well, well, well. Well, well, well. You're of good stock. Good breeding. Posh. You're a posh bugger. Fucking hell, mate. Now it all comes out now.
It's when they were, little tots.
Yeah, but still, it wasn't like the chimney sweep daughter playing with the fucking, whatever. Right, top of forelock at you. In the corner by the former Scotch of St James, walk through another very narrow passageway. That must be the fourth narrow passageway. Leads you into Ormond Yard. Continue along, turning right on Duke of York Street, heading downhill to reach St James Square. Now. Okay. No. Alright, St James Square, which is dominated by Georgian and Neo-Georgian architecture, has a large private garden at its centre, has traditionally been one of London's most fashionable addresses. At one time, in the early 18th century, 7 dukes and 7 earls lived here. He talks about a sports club. I remember Andy Pandy at the time said, "This is boring, move on." So I did. Just past the East India Club at number 14 on North West London Library. Relatively unknown institution to most Londoners. I do remember this moment. It's a library of choice for the capital's literary establishment. Founded largely due to the energies of the great Victorian essayist, critic and historian Thomas Carlyle. I've heard a lot about him recently with these right-wing people that I listen to. He's a hero to them. He's a very stern fellow. Very sandpaper dry sense of humour.
But didn't, what's his name? Didn't little Ginge, as you call him, say that he had to go in there, he had some business in that library.
Yes. Something, but I can't remember the deets. I don't have his phone number, or we could phone him up and ask. Although there's been a big, I'm not really involved in it, but it's all happening around there. This beautiful building is currently the world's largest independent lending library. Then it goes on to list people. I don't know. The current president is the playwright Tom Stoppard. I could do a little anecdote here. I was a gigolo at one time, and I was a gigolo for this guy called John Athey or something. I've got his book downstairs. He's self-published some book about English cathedrals, and we went to see a Tom Stoppard play called The Invention of Love. It was the most driest, boringest fucking thing I'd ever had the misfortune to sit through. I think he's gay, this Tom Stoppard character. And it was at the Barbican, and somebody had lent me a talking watch. So when the alarm was set, the alarm would speak the alarm. By the by, I was sat there enduring this. The place was packed. Packed, darkness, very, very quiet, tedious play. And then at a certain point in it, this fucking speaking watch goes off going, "It's 7:30, it's 7:30, it's 7:30, it's 7:30, and it wouldn't stop. I couldn't work out how to turn it off. And I was like fiddling with the thing, and the guy next to me going, "You stupid fucking cunt, you stupid fucking cunt." I'm like trying to switch it off in a panic, and like, "Stupid fucking, that's 7:30, it's 7:30, it's 7:30, you stupid cunt, you stupid cunt." I was like, fuck, you know, it was like being in a nightmare. I had to stand up and run through the middle of right in the middle of the audience, like, you know, the middle of the row.
It was probably more interesting than the play.
Oh, I couldn't get back in until the interval, and I don't know, but he was furious. This guy was furious with me. But he appreciated my love making, so we didn't, you know, he's an older guy. So, but it got me out of that shitty play. But he was fucking incandescent, you know. The library is not generally open to non-members, but if you want to submit a member list, blah blah blah, that's boring. Walk around St James Square clockwise, passing at number 10, Chatham House, home of the Royal Institute of International Affairs, non-profit making organisation set up to promote the understanding of this is a bit boring, of international affairs. You're allowed to talk about what was discussed, but you're not allowed to specify who attended or reveal who said what. The purpose being to encourage honest and frank conversation. But if big things are discussed there, then that's like freedom of information. Okay, on the northeast corner is the Naval and Military Club. Traditionally, the club has provided a London home for officers of the Royal Navy, Royal Marines, the Army, and the Royal Air Force. Oh, and then Andy Pandy claimed that he could get in there through the Royal Air Force.
Yeah, that's right.
But he's never had anything to do with the Royal Air Force. So I didn't really get that. The club moved here in 1996. It was the original house of home of Viscount Astor, Nancy Astor, the first female member of Parliament. Oh, the club came to be known as the In and Out, and this is where I did a joke about Nancy with her ass tours, her tours of her ass, and that's why it said the old In and Out, the old In and Out. You know what I mean? It's Alex. You know that guy Alex Droog?
Got the current, yeah.
Into the old In and Out. Just opposite the club is a memorial to PC Yvonne Fletcher, the Libyan embassy once occupied at number 5, and in 1984 Fletcher was helping police an anti-Gaddafi demonstration in the square when someone inside the embassy shot her dead. Her murder resulted in the siege of the embassy that lasted 11 days, the longest in London's history. But this isn't where the SAS one was. At the time I thought this is where the SAS one was.
Me too.
But then I was thinking, no, I remember there being 2 balconies, and this only had 1 balcony, so that was at Prince's Gate.
So it wasn't the same place.
It wasn't the same place, no.
So I remember watching that on TV.
I watched it on TV. Yeah, I watched it on TV.
It was really exciting.
Yes, yeah, it was. But that wasn't it. That was at a different place called Prince's Gate, because I looked it up when I got home because it was bothering me. You know what I mean? So it's not.
Yeah, I remember it was like that, and like John Lennon dying. It was around the same time, wasn't it?
Well, he didn't just die; he got shot by Mark Chapman.
Yeah, but it was around the same time. I remember those 2 things sort of happening within, it was around the same. It was all happened at the same time.
Yeah, there was Mark Chapman.
Yeah.
And there was a chapman at my school
Right.
who was similarly odd. In middle school, I was known as a good drawer, and he asked me to draw a picture of him.
Yeah.
He had massive fucking teeth.
Right.
So I didn't want to do this drawing, so I did a parody of him with those huge
big
fucking teeth. Yeah, and people took the piss out of him because of his teeth anyway. You know, he looked like a fucking chimp.
Yeah.
And so I drew it like that. He was like very upset.
Around the same time, it was the same time. Did you ever see a play? It was a play for today that they showed on BBC called The Flip Side of Dominic Hyde.
It rings a bell, but it sounds like I wouldn't have been allowed to stay up to watch that.
Because I remember staying up to watch it with my parents, and it was and they showed it like it was like the day after like John Lennon had been shot, and there was this scene in the play.
I would have thought they would have just had a blank screen all day.
No, they played this. It was called The Flip Side of Dominic Hyde, and there was this scene in it. It was like set in the future, like he was from the future, and he, in his time in the future, because he plays like this time traveller. He goes back in time, and in his time they have these holographic performers who like perform for you in your home.
Yeah.
Like so they'll like play music.
Yeah.
And he goes back to like 1980 or whenever it came out, and he's in like a restaurant or something, and there's these people playing instruments, but they're playing Yesterday by the Beatles, and it was kind of poignant because John Lennon had just died.
It's sort of too poignant.
Yeah, and he gets up and
like uncanny.
Yeah, and he gets up to kind of walk through because he thinks they're holograms because he's from the future, and in his time, people who sit and play music for you are holograms, and he tries to walk through the musicians, and then he bumps into them because
this was precisely on the day after.
Yeah, it was weird.
Like almost to make you think this is some kind of cosmic joke, or
Yeah.
we are in a simulation.
Yeah, it was weird.
And the people who make the simulation are taking the fucking piss.
Yeah, it was weird.
Odd. Very odd. No, I don't remember that. I was allowed to stay up late to watch, Universal horror movies and Hammer horror films like that, but not to watch BBC stuff. It sounds like it was on a school night.
I distinctly remember, sitting with my parents watching it, and that scene happened. It was weird.
No, doesn't ring a bell, but it's probably on. Maybe you can find it on YouTube.
Yeah, no, it is. You can get it. I've watched it.
Oh, it is.
I watched it
Oh, so
recently.
you've watched it since.
It's interesting, actually.
Anybody else in the comments come up with the same anecdote as what you've got?
I put a comment saying, I remember this because it was the day after John Lennon died.
That's the kind of thing that makes you think, God, we're in a simulation. The programmers are fucking playing with me. We're nearly at the end of the walk, to be honest, or our part of the walk. This was good. Well, it's very dark now, and we couldn't get into the actual square, but I managed to shine my strong torch across the square to hit this statue of William III, 1650 to 1702. It portrays the king as a Roman general riding his horse, Sorrel, and it stood here since 1808. Look out for the molehill under the horse's hooves. William fell from his horse and broke his collarbone after stumbling over a molehill, which indirectly led to his death as he fatally contracted pneumonia while recovering from his injuries. The incident led to his Jacobite enemies customarily toasting the mole and saying, "To the little gentleman in the black velvet waistcoat, here's to you." This was quite good. Mrs. Edward Boehm, Boehm, once lived at number 16 on the square and hosted a magnificent ball there on the 21st of June, 1815, attended by George IV and the cream of London society. The highlight was the arrival of a blood-stained messenger named Major Henry Percy, who announced the news of the victory at Waterloo. He laid down captured French army flags at the regent's feet and announced, "Victory, sir! Victory!" Continue along the southeast side of the square, passing Norfolk House at number 31. General Eisenhower used this as a base from which he directed the Allied war effort during World War II. He had a frosty relationship with Britain's General Montgomery, and arrived here one day in January 94 to find Monty very near to the Mole. Monty Mole, the computer game. It's all fucking stacking up. To find Monty had deliberately taken Eisenhower's official parking spot. Thought to have been a deliberate provocation. I like that kind of little, what's it called? Pernicketyness.
Yeah.
In the middle of a war. It's like, I'm going to take his fucking driving spot. Fuck that Yankee bastard. I'm gonna leave half an hour early so that I can take his fucking take his parking spot.
Actually, that's weird. Actually, because when we were at that spot, because I remember there was like a chauffeur, he was like on a break, and he was like smoking a joint. It was like you could smell it was really strong.
He was smoking a bloody joint.
Yeah.
Bloody hell! I don't know what I think about that. Leave the square and rejoin Pall Mall. There's a little bit of confusion here about which way to go, but we worked it out in the end. On the eastern side at number 107 is the Athenaeum Club. Do you remember that?
That's the one. Is that the one that Bertrand Russell couldn't get into until he was like 60?
No.
Yeah, it was the Athenian. Yeah.
Oh God, there's a lot to say. Okay, here we go. It's where I said we walked into the middle of the road to view it. Yeah. The Athena. Well, and then I said to Mr. P, "This one's all about Athena. The Greek." He goes, "I don't give a fuck." He hates his Greek people for some reason. I don't know why. I said, "Yeah, but you cried when you watched the film 300." He goes, "That was for different reasons." All right, fucking hell. Athenian Club. It's grand classical frontage overlooking Waterloo Place. Founded by civil servant and author John Wilson Croker in 1824, this magnificent building was designed by Decimus Burton. That's a nice name, Decimus. Decimus. That's a good name. In 1827, the Athenaeum has the strongest intellectual reputation out of all the clubs, and was founded as a meeting place for men who enjoy the life of the mind. The stone blocks on the pavement outside the club are said to have been placed there in 1830 at the request of the Duke of Wellington, then Prime Minister, and a regular visitor to the club to help him mount his horse. The majority of members are involved in the fields of science, engineering, medicine, and over 52 of the club's past and present members have won a Nobel Prize. Women have been allowed to join since 2002. The library alone contains 80,000 books. And the club was the scene of a famous literary reconciliation in 1863 when Charles Dickens and William Makepeace Thackeray finally made their peace after a bitter 12-year feud. I wonder what they feuded about. This is an exceptionally difficult club to secure membership of, as it operates a secret ballot, followed by infamous black ball vote. The philosopher, mathematician and Nobel Prize winner Bertrand Russell had to wait 40 years to become a member after his initial rejection. And then, guess what I found out was that here he goes. He said, Mr. Bean said, my gran's been to the Athenaeum Club twice.
Oh, really?
I said, is she a Mensa? He goes, she knew the British ambassador to Zimbabwe. But she could be bullshitting. Well, his gran owns a wood. I goes, grannies don't bullshit. So there you go. But then he could have said his granny's name at the door and got us all in.
Yeah.
Fucking little wanker. But he's having some kind of, him and little Ginge, you know. I don't know what's going on, but it's like KISSING, Ginge and Beans, sitting in a tree. To the south of the Athenaeum is a memorial column to the Duke of York, best known for being pilloried in the rhyme "The Grand Old Duke of York." I didn't think he was being pilloried. I've sung that all of my life. If I knew they were taking a piss out of him, I wouldn't have sung it. Grand old Duke of York, he had 10,000 men. He marched them up to the top of the hill and he marched them down again.
And when they were up, they were up.
And when they were down, they were down. And when they were only halfway up, they were neither up nor down. Hey, but that's not. I always thought they were celebrating him. That's war. That's war. In real life, he was the unpopular son of George II, who at one point rumoured to become the first king of the United States. Oh, wow. I like the sound of that. That would have been good. Before Britain lost control of its American colony in the 1780s, a bungling military commander, he died owing $2 million to his creditors. I didn't know this. I didn't know this. That was a bit Jewish. I didn't know this. That's very Maureen Lipman. I didn't know this.
He's got knowledge.
I didn't know this. I didn't know how to make the gravy. Remember she used to do that gravy advert? Bisto.
She did the BT adverts.
I thought she'd done the Bisto advert.
No, that's the other woman. Maureen Lipman was he's got a knowledge.
I wouldn't have thought that Maureen Lipman controlled the media and the banks.
Well, you know.
She had help. The column was erected in 1834 and was controversially funded by the deduction of a day's pay from every soldier in the army. Fucking hell. Humorists at the time suggested the column's great height was designed to prevent the Duke being harassed by his many creditors, even in the afterlife. To the southwest of the column is Carlton House Terrace, designed by John Nash and largely completed in the 1830s. And now, just let me light this cigarette for the finale, the finito, the end. Again, what we're about to encounter next is Andy Pandy famously used to come to this spot to get the girls wet, to wetten them up before it do whatever he does, So anyway, just continue. Outside number 9 and near the base of the Duke of York column is a small tombstone to Gyro, an Alsatian dog that belonged to, Andy Pandy used to tell the girls it was Hitler's dog, but it wasn't Hitler's dog. I don't believe it's a genuine mistake on this. I will accept it's a genuine mistake. Belonged to Dr. Leopold von Hoesch, Nazi Germany's ambassador to the court of St. James between 1932 and 1936. Now, I don't think that would have got the girls wet. If you said it was Hitler's dog, I can understand that, getting the girls wet. But I can't imagine Dr. Leopold von Hoesch, the ambassador.
Who's she?
And I think everybody listening is clapping as well at this point in time. It was originally in the front gardens to number 9, now a small space between the Duke of York steps and the garage ramps. The tombstone bears the inscription, "Gyro, ein true Begleiter," which means, Gyro, I love you. No, it means Gyro, a true companion. But it all sounds like there's, it's the German language. It just sounds like hate, doesn't it? All the way down the line. It's like up there with Japanese for that. Number 9 remained the German embassy until World War II and was where von his successor, Ambassador Joachim von Ribbentrop, worked between 1936 and 1938 before he became Hitler's foreign minister. The building is still thought to retain a marble staircase donated to the German embassy by Mussolini. Other past inhabitants of this grand terrace include 3 British Prime Ministers, Gladstone, Palmerston and Earl Grey.
Bergamot.
I had no idea that there was a British Prime Minister called Earl Grey. Is that what the tea's named after?
I don't have no idea.
Then, look, we walked down to Pall Mall to the Travellers Club, but really by here we were all
Flagging.
lagging,
Lagging.
fagging, and all it is really is just another list of 3 or 4 clubs of that not particularly.
But this one is notable for Jules Verne.
Okay, but I'll read it. The Travellers Club, which was our last one where we actually finally gave up. Founded in 1819 and moved to its present purpose-built clubhouse, designed by Sir Charles Barry, the architect of Bridgewater House. Its founders wanted a meeting place for gentlemen who had travelled abroad, and the original rules excluded from membership anyone who has not travelled out of the British Islands to a distance of at least 500 miles from London in a direct line. Now you've got to remember, you didn't have like package holidays back then. You didn't have EasyJet, so it was significant. Notable members include politicians such as Canning, Wellington, Palmerston, Balfour and Baldwin. There's also a special category of membership for great explorers and travellers. Past and present members include Colonel John Blashford Snell, Sir Ranulph Fiennes and Edmund Hillary. The club remains a male bastion, although ladies are welcome as guests throughout the clubhouse. Now, what's this around the world thing you keep talking about?
Around the world in 80 days.
Well, explain.
Well, it's fiction,
Yeah.
but this is the...
What's it got to do with the Travellers Club?
I thought they had to meet there after... I can't... Well, I don't know, you know.
Well, he knew, Little Ginge.
Yeah.
And I think that's what it was, is it starts and ends there.
Yeah, that's right.
But why is that not mentioned it's pretty significant detail.
I think it's because it's fiction, it's not actually real.
Yeah, but he's dipped into fictional things previously. It's fiction in the story, but it's not fiction that it's been written.
Well,
it was written in a famous.
If you want my honest answer, my honest answer is that this guy doesn't fucking know. He doesn't fucking know. He hasn't done his research, and he's a bit of a shit. That is my honest answer.
And at this point, dear listener, there were 3-4 more clubs, but we couldn't be asked. It was all the way down that way to our left, but directly ahead of us we had a direct route back to Soho, and so we just thought that's enough for now. It'd been a long, he's getting on, the birthday boy. He's 70 something, so is he not? No, he's not 70 something. No, he's not. He's not 70 something. He's 60 something. 60 something. Fucking hell. But still, and he's not used to walking, and old Beamish here is, whatever. And so it'd been and with having to wait around for the various individuals that were late turning up, there was a lot of hanging around, wasn't there?
But I think overall it was it was good. It was a good one. It was well attended, and nice little drinks afterwards. I'd never been to Trisha. Ended up in Trisha's.
You've never been to Trisha's?
No, I've never
been
in
all
there.
Your years.
All my years, I'd never been in there, and it was quite interesting to go in there.
But that's where I fell out with old Little Ginge over that. Fucking his junkie mate. God, it's just gone out of my head. There was something else to say. Trisha's nice drinks. It's just gone. It's gone. It was a good walk. It was a fun walk. It went from raining to a bright sunny day to atmospheric darkness, and we had people jumping in along the. He had a good turnout for his birthday.
Yeah,
It was a good turnout for his birthday. Yeah, what's your favourite bit then?
Yeah, probably that Eros sculpture, the Queen Alexandra. That was a high point. The guy there, the guy outside the whites.
That's what I was going to say about the walk. Because you remember when I finished reading on the steps, I turned to him and I said, sorry about that, but what did you think? And he goes, "Bally fine dissertation."
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I felt about the walk. All in all, it was bally fine.
Yeah.
Bally fine. My favourite bit, the story of the mole that took down the general, because that, as I was saying to Andy Pandy between ourselves, how greatness is taken down by the smallest thing, which always reminds me of my favourite line from Jane Bowles, about the smallest cogs turn the biggest wheels.
Mm-hmm.
Chance, adventure, as they said in the 14th century. If he'd walked that way, he would have missed the molehill.
Yep.
But he went that way. And now the Jacobites, salute, that little man in the black velvet jacket. That was good. Yeah. I don't know, should we just knock it on the head there and say thank you very much for listening?
Yep.
Please do come along to the next one. And still thank you for that. Still recording. And I will now press stop.